Tonight, Middlesex University, product design engineering, and design engineering. We're really excited to host Rabia Arif, the Faculty Employability Advisor at MDXworks, for our first talk of the 2021-2022 guest lecture series. So Rabia, she completed a BSc and an MSc in Business Information Systems Management at Middlesex University. She's been working at Middlesex University for 7+ years now. She's had roles including the Graduate Academic Assistant for Computer Science Department, an administrator for CAPE, which is a Center for Academic Practice Enhancement. She's supported my learning content. She's helped staff members set up modules using online resources as well. She's been an educational technologist on projects for NHS with mental health department. She's certified level 6 careers, information advice and guidance, and currently working as the Employability Adviser for the Science and Technology faculty. And over the last 4 years, she's been helping students secure placements and internships, helping with career guidance, graduate opportunities, job application and processes. Many of you guys who've gone out on placement, you'd have been in contact with myself and Rabia over the last 2-3 years. And Rabia's details were sent to your emails ahead of the talk, including links to MDXworks and social media channels. Definitely feel free to browse and connect. And without any further ado, guys, Rabia Arif with a talk titled Placements and Employment for Product Design and Design Engineering. Rabia, all yours.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you. It's probably the greatest ever introduction I've had. Very detailed. Thank you so much. Nice to be back to do the guest lecture. I did one last year, so some of you, I guess, probably do remember me, the ones that are in final year now. So yes, I do have some slides to share with you, and I will go through my introduction, just, you know, the kind of work I'm doing with MDXworks and what the MDXworks can offer for you guys, and also some highlights around placements, internships, graduate support, as well as job applications, where to look, and what are the, you know, the documents that are required for application processes. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see. So let me just move this around here. Okay. So like Ahmed said, at the end, we will have Q&A. So don't worry too much if you have any questions in between everything I'm going through. I don't want it to be a thing where I'm just talking, and no one's, you know, some have just snoozed off or gone, you know, off this this lecture. Any questions at all, do keep it on the side. They will be answered at the end. There are loads of slides today to cover, loads of information, I'll say. But in terms of the slides, the number of the slides, don't freak out. It's just, I've put in extra additional information and links so that you can go through in your own time once the slides are shared with you afterwards. Okay, so I am here today from the Employability Service. So Employability Service is the, MDXworks is the employability service, the central hub for employment for the whole Middlesex University. So we support students all around different faculties. So that includes, you know, ACI, art design, media performing arts, science and technology, business, law, health and education. So there's all these departments, all the students get same access from us. So it doesn't matter whether you're foundation year, first year, second, third, or postgraduate, even PhD, believe it or not, they do come and access our support as well, whether it's looking for part-time roles or, you know, just thinking of their career planning, what to do next, where to look for, you know, opportunities. So some of the things that will be covered today are introduction to MDXworks of the service. I'll try to whiz through that one. Placements, internships, that's a really, really important topic to cover because we've got many second years with us today. Some of the student experiences of how, you know, placement internship shaped out for them and, you know, what they think of that once they did undertake this and how that can probably encourage some of you to think about placements and internships. Graduate employment, because I know we have final years with us today as well. So, you know, you're probably thinking of your next steps. Don't leave it to last minute. Now is the time to start thinking of those steps. How to get started. So in terms of the application process, so that will probably come in just after actually place internships. I've changed the order around because it's more around starting the process, looking for those placements, but also there are useful links for graduate support as well. And then we'll move on to just quickly touch up on CVs, cover letters, LinkedIn and portfolios, because portfolio is one of the most, you know, popular tool for you guys in terms of job applications. And the placement paperwork process and some of the next steps that you can take with you before you can book a one-to-one appointment with me. So just to quickly go over, we have 3 advisors for science and technology. Your department is design, engineering, mathematics, so you probably don't need to worry about the other 2 colleagues that work for science and tech as well, which is Clemente for sports science and my colleague Emma for natural science and psychology. And then comes myself for computer science and design engineering mathematics. So the drop-in hours have slightly changed now that we are coming back on campus. My drop-in hours are every Monday, 10 to 4 p.m. So you can come and just see me for 15 minutes quickly, just to quickly go over any brief conversation. But followed by that will be recommendation of a one-to-one appointment, which is a bit more detailed. It can be half an hour long, or it can be 1 hour, depending on how much support is required for the students. So this is where we are located. We are based in CGO7. If you have been on campus, hopefully you have, just prior to pandemic, or even right now if you are accessing the campus. It's the main building, college building, ground floor, on the left-hand side in the corridor, CGO7 MDXworks office. You can see the pictures, that's how it looks. We are available Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, face-to-face in CGO7. We run drop-ins every Monday to Friday. So again, if you drop in, let's say you can't do it on Monday to see me, you can come in Tuesday to Fridays as well. If you would like to get just brief information on something, or how to book an appointment, just to get a quick brief overview on a CV. If you have a deadline the next day and you can't get in contact with me, you're waiting on my email, it's probably easier to just come in, drop in, and just see one of the advisors. They're also, they're more than capable to help you guys as well, although they are from different areas, but we all are trained to provide similar support in terms of the job applications. There's our email address, mdxworks@mdxoac.uk, for any kind of general queries, and the phone number as well, just in case you would like to get in touch, because our main numbers we only have them on our drop-in hour days. So please feel free to call the main number, and they can connect you through to us, or forward your query to me directly through email if there is anything urgent required. So what we aim to do, main thing that we aim to do is help students with career planning. I think Ahmed covered a few of those things already. Searching for opportunities, employee engagement, improving your employability skills. So we try to, we engage with the academics to work together and host different workshops. For example, today we're doing a guest lecture on placements and graduate support, but I also run series of workshops with some of the academics where employability is embedded within the curriculum. So for example, there will be 1 week of CVs, 1 week of cover letters, 1 week of LinkedIn, 1 week of interviews. So there's different series of workshops that I run along with the academics. But other than that, we also have our own projects that we roll out every year for students. So I do have a list of those to quickly run over as well, for you to be involved in, because those are the extracurricular activities that employers are looking for students to be involved in when they apply for any kind of graduate roles or placements and internships. Because what they are really interested in seeing is, yes, you have done a degree. Do you have relevant work experience? If not, which is obviously we highly recommend that you go for that. And now is the chance for at least second years to go for that. But let's say you are final year, you didn't get a chance to go for, the placement or any kind of work experience. What are other things that you have been doing in your own time, other than just learning those modules as part of your degree? To showcase your skills, your professional skills, your employability skills, as well as your own, the knowledge of the degree that you are studying, rather than just what you've been studying in the lessons. Is there any kind of online short courses like LinkedIn Learning you've been involved in to fill in the gaps? Maybe in the industry, things are changing, maybe, there's certain requirement for the role that you are really interested in, and it is covered as part of your degree, but maybe not as detailed as is required in the industry. So what can you do to fill in those gaps? So we are here to help, have that conversation with you and help you explore those different areas. We also provide support in terms of the personal statements. So let's say you are a final year student, you're looking to go into further studies. Again, that's a conversation to have. Why do you really want to go into that further studies? Is there really a reason behind it? Or is it more just to go in there thinking, if I do a master's, I'm most likely guaranteed a better job? So I do have some slides to cover that too. We'll go over in the next few slides. So I've covered most of these points, but as an MDX student, from first year, or as soon as you step into the university to the end of your journey, you have one-to-one careers and employment appointments with your dedicated employability advisor, which is myself. So you have access to that. You have full access to mdxworks.com. So that's our online portal where we post all resources, job opportunities. Companies have profiles that are working closely with us. Any events that we run, I've quickly put in some screenshots for you just to see how it looks. If you are not on there, I would highly recommend you, at least after this session, to register yourself, because at some point that will be needed. So rather than leaving it till late, make sure you do register yourself. Before, students were able to access the website with their university details, so the username and password. That's not the case anymore. you will need to create an account if you are accessing this first time. You have free access to Careerspace, so employee engagement, any networking opportunities. We have we're actually running our first grand festival event next month, which is Grad Stock. So I have more details for that. I can leave the registration link with you as well at the end of my talk. So you can register yourself. Wednesday, 3rd of November is probably the date to put down. That is when we'll be running science and technology related days. So we'll have different employers on board with us. They'll be running workshops, giving out information around what opportunities available, how, if there's any placements, internships, graduate roles, any tips and guidance for them. But also the main thing to remember is that networking opportunity that you'll have to directly, speak to them and network with them and ask anything that you may have in mind, any questions in terms of the employment kind of engagement. It's your chance and your exposure to the employers in the science and technology sector. So I've mentioned the other ones already. There's also Unitemps, which is part of our service. So Unitemps is on-campus recruitment-based service. So they post vacancies for students, current students, any academics, anyone around the campus, anyone at Middlesex University that would like students to work for them or have any roles available, it will be posted through unitemps.com. It's flexible, it's part-time, it's paid. Student ambassador role is out right now, and I think first years or second years can apply. I don't think it's applicable for final years, only because you'll be graduating next year, so they do want a long-term commitment, but that doesn't mean there's nothing there for final years or postgraduates. There's many roles available, and especially at the beginning of the academic year, there's actually many things that come live. So make sure you do register yourself with unitemps.com if you haven't done that already, and especially if you don't have any part-time job or continuous employment on your CVs, you can gain loads of professional skills such as team working, time management, communication. So we highly recommend, and because that's quite inclusive to our students. So all these students that you see working on event days like open days, postgraduate evenings, applicant days, in red shirts around the campus, they are recruited through Unitemps. So make sure you do register, and if you have any questions, there is actually Unitemps email on the slide as well. These slides will be shared with you, so not to worry if you haven't had a chance to just note down these details. So this is the main landing page, how it looks. If you look at the top, it says new user sign up. If you haven't signed up already, if you have, you'll just be able to log in. And these are just for yourself to see in your time, but obviously you can see a live version if you do go on MDXworks.com. So under the resources, there's different tabs. There's actually an exclusive one for science and technology students. Then we have jobs board. Then we have events. So at the moment, Grad Stock is the main one. This is probably the most important one to remember, is appointments tab right at the top on the bar. Where you can see my one-to-one availability from this page. So if I do share the appointment link with you, you'll need to first make sure that you are registered with the MDXworks.com before you can access that. So there are different programs that we run. I don't want to go into too much detail to take up time because I really want to concentrate around placements and graduate support. But MD Accelerator will open at the end of this year. So that's our program where we allow students, if you have any, start a business plan, you'd like to run your own business, you've got a plan, you can put it forward. It's more like a pitch. So it will be submitted to the panel. There will be employers and our director, our team involved. They'll look at your idea and then there'll be follow-up, sessions around that. And, it's more like a competition in a way. And at the end, there is actually a prize attached to that too. MDXL is still working on this. So we're trying to work closely with the external organizations. We can bring in real life projects for you. So there's actually a problem statement and students from different faculties can work together, share their expertise and knowledge. So for example, one might be around, sketching or designing, work towards a product. One may be around marketing. So we need a marketing student. One may be designing the website for that. So we need, someone who's from the computer science or IT degree. So there will be, a chance to work with different students together. MDX Advantage is actually a 6-month program intensive for final year students. So if you are in your final year, that is something you really want to, look into. It does open around end of the year as well. So December is the time. You will have different workshops. So they're not, it sounds long because it's 6 months, but it's probably like a one workshop a month where you'll have to produce some work for that. So it's like an assignment or task attached to it. And at the end, you do get a certificate. So these are our way to bring opportunities that you can have, additional information and certifications on your job application. MDX equals more than a program, it's a project we're working on. So making sure that, all underrepresented backgrounds get equal, chances to work alongside the employers, and we run different kind of panel discussions to help students build that confidence. Emerging Professional Program has been very successful this summer. We'll be running this again next year summer. So there's dedicated workshops for each area. So year 1, 2, and 3, and then you have central pathway workshops as well. So if you're a part of this, I'm sure you can let your fellow students know that at the end of it, there was actually an application you could put forward based on your reflection for those workshops. And students were able to actually get 1 week paid placement opportunity for that. So, those are the things you really want to be involved in, Made in Middlesex. So just, making sure if there's any student union, any groups, societies that you can be involved in, make sure you are part of them. These are just some of the employers we work closely with. There is quite a big list. The upcoming event is Gradstock 2021, which I have already mentioned. So once this slide is shared with you, but I'll make sure that the link is shared at the end of the session so you can register yourself. Okay. So like I said, if there are any questions so far around the service or the work we do, please do put it in the chat and I'll try to address them at the end of the session. So now moving on to placement internships. So every course around the university have a module, work-based module or placement attached to the degree. For your degree, is actually a year-long placement option, which is minimum 36 weeks and approximately that makes up 9 months. It is optional, so you don't have to do that, but we highly recommend due to the the great benefits that you'll get from them. It is 120 credits. So if you were to take this placement, there is some paperwork. So once you have secured the placement, the only thing that wouldn't happen is we can't give a placement to each student, but we do have many connections. I can send out opportunities to those students that are really interested. You'll need to sign up to the expression of interest form. Once you've done that, you'll start receiving, kind of monthly, weekly, whenever any opportunity becomes available, but they will also be advertised on our website. So make sure you are, connected to MDXworks.com portal. So this one, the only difference between this and summer is not accredited. The year-long placement option is accredited. But between this time, you don't necessarily need to do only one placement. You can work for multiple organizations as long as they meet the requirements that we are asking for in terms of the paperwork, but also it needs to be relevant to your degrees. So if you think there's like a crossover, there's like a kind of thin line between what you are studying and the role that you have secured, we can have that conversation. Don't feel, that just because you've secured something and it's not that relevant, but it is relevant somewhat, you shouldn't let us know. You should just leave it and reject it. Don't do that. It's very hard to secure placements or any internship opportunities. Make sure you get in touch with myself or even Ahmed or any other academics. Let them know, we can work together and see if we can work something around that and make sure if you are happy with that placement, how it can, be part of your program. So some of the facts to share is that a high number of employers do value employability skills way over and above other factors such as degree. I'm not saying degree is not useful. Yes, it is. But in the current competitive and with this whole pandemic world, employers are looking for students to have relevant work experience or professional skills that they have gained. So where you have been able to put your degree into practice and come forward and give those examples during your interviews and job applications. So 70% of the employers say that students need to do more to prepare themselves to be effective in the workplace. And that's quite a high percentage. So not just studying, you can have first class honors in your degree. You can have even all A stars and A grades from your college, A levels, BTech. All that is great stuff on your education, qualification section of the CVs. But what about your, work experiences or your, the professional skills? Have you been able to, improve them and enhance them in terms of the degrees that you are studying? So for that, it's really important that, get in touch with us. More than happy to have that conversation and forward any employer details to you where you can connect with them and start working for them, be able to secure the opportunity. The fact that you have guest lectures, running kind of every week, regular basis is really good as well. So make sure you do attend them, because after mine, there'll be series of actual employers joining. So that is your chance to not just mute yourself and stay there, but at the end, do ask questions, because the more you ask, obviously not relevant things that have been mentioned during the slides. Otherwise, it seems like you were not listening. But, that is your way to ask, even if something has not been advertised, or, you're a second year student and they only have graduate opportunity, they don't have placement. There's no harm in asking, do you have any work experience opportunity, whether it's shadowing, volunteering? If so, when does the applications open? What is the application process? Until you do that proactive approach, it's very hard to get your foot in. So some of the reasons, just maybe you can go through in your own time too, but they are quite obvious, is to gain relevant skills, experience, enhance your CV. They are talking points at your interview. So never employers will ask, have you done this before? It's more around, give us an example of a time you had to do this, or tell us about a time you had to do something. It's more scenario based, and the more relevant examples you have, the better. If not, then your examples can come from your educational studies as well. But for example, if you have other jobs that you've been part of, or any projects that you have worked on, those would be a good highlight, especially in your degree, which is so creative, around design engineering and product design, even robotics, all this kind of mechanical engineering. They're very practical based CVs. So the more kind of project based work that you do, the more examples and talking points you have during the interviews. So I'm just going to go over to the few next slides now. Although I have mentioned this before, important to gain relevant work experience to build your portfolio. So I think that's quite a popular one under the product design degree. Establish useful network of contacts. So once you start working for a company, most of the majority of the times, students actually have been able to secure jobs with them. So let's say if you went for summer internship or year-long placement, students actually end up securing that role for graduate job, which is a 2-year normally contract, by the time they have completed their placement. That's because they have trained you up already. They don't want to, spend time training up another person. So they'd rather have you there. But it's also about, once you actually step into the professional world, the way you communicate, the way you work as part of a team, it does change the, your actual way of behaving in professionalism. So that encourages, students while at work to be engaging with those professionals and, pick up those qualities, and to be able to, create that connection where they, you can sell your skills to them and make them believe that, that I am that person that you do want to recruit once I leave this place, and you want me to come back. So you want to leave that impression on the employers. So making connections with the, with an industrial kind of design in your area, and ask if you can complete a placement with them. So it's being proactive. It's really useful and USB for applications during the current climate. So these are just some of the soft skills and technical skills to go over, maybe in your own time, because they are the requirements for placements or even graduate roles. There's always going to be the first bullet point of an application saying we're looking for a student within the STEM degree, for example, product design, design engineering, or it could be mathematics. It could be any kind of degree, not around STEM, but depends obviously what you're applying for in what sector. Then the next few bullet points are more around the soft skills, which is like communication, ability to work to deadlines, resilience, team working. Problem solving is always one that is under the technology degree. So, being able to give those examples is what will make your application stronger. So make sure you do prepare in time. Now is the time. So Arm's done a very good thing to, allow us to come and join the session in the beginning. So we haven't left it too late. You will have other sessions throughout your year. So I definitely do session around LinkedIn as well for product design students and design engineering. So you will have those sessions more in your seminar, more than a lecture, where you will have a lecture on LinkedIn, then they'll be followed by a lecture around, seminar more like, to give you more one-to-one feedback on your LinkedIn profiles. But make sure you do start engaging with myself. Earlier the better. If you want to do placement or summer internship, I'm not saying it'll be a success straight away, but you learn from your setbacks. When you put in some applications, there'll be a learning curve. So some might be rejected, some might be accepted. For some of them, you might get to the second stage, third stage. For some of them, it might not be accepted in the first stage. So that's the way to work out where the issue lies. Is it around the CV? Is it around the cover letter? Is it the interview? Maybe you need more help around that. Whereas your writing skills are absolutely fine, but it's more about communicating when you're speaking live to the employers. So, I can help you with those things. We can have multiple one-to-one appointments around that. Also, one thing I like to point out to my students is do consider small to medium-sized companies too, and not only based around the large side. I'm not saying don't apply for the big names. It's always good to make those applications, but their application procedures are slightly longer. Whereas if you, for example, found an opportunity through LinkedIn, you will realize it's probably like a one step where you had to upload a CV, followed by maybe a phone call just to find out more about yourself, or an interview, and you found out your result, whether it was accepted or rejected. So be prepared for all different, different kind of learning curve in this. So I've just put down I asked some questions to the previous students. So if you're final year, you probably did see this maybe last year too, and we're trying to add on more for this year. So I'll be requesting students who have just completed their placements or internships, just to share the experience with us. Obviously, you can go through a little bit more in detail in your own time, as these slides will be shared, but someone who did a year-long placement with We Make Stuff Happen, the student was said that, it was by directly contacting organizations. So it wasn't actually through one of those traditional links online, but it was more to do with making your own connection. So, obviously we can work with employers and bring it to you, but it is a lot around, especially with your degrees, if not necessarily things will be advertised all the time online. There are traditional routes, but don't only rely on that, because what you have to think is there's many, many other universities, and students all around those universities are also making applications. And that is where two things come in mind. What are you doing to make yourself stand out from the crowd? And also, what are you doing different from their search techniques? Is it just online traditional searching methods, or is it more of you putting yourself forward to those employers? Okay, so I want to share the quote, this one. So it was extremely positive, the experience the student shared, that learned so much with the reality of applying skills that they learned in the university in a professional context, gained greater confidence in my design ability, personal skills, and client experience as well. So those skills are what will make your application stronger in the future. Of course, it was beneficial. I don't think anyone would say that goes for placements or internships that it wasn't beneficial. So for second year students, I really think try to engage in activities that the student has left for you. So some of the advice is go out, network. So as I was saying earlier on, it is a lot about networking, whether we run any careers fair, whether there's through Eventbrite, whether there's Meetup, make sure you are involved in those, current climate, many things are online. So you can join any kind of webinars or seminars through Zoom from home. So, you don't really need to even travel to these careers fair, because majority of them are quite, they're on the large scale. So most of them are actually running virtually at the moment because of the COVID and the pandemic. So you can join from home. You wouldn't even need to travel for them. So someone who did their summer internship also shared that it was more about, because they were interested in one particular area and they wanted to explore that. So what they did was they made a list of relevant organizations in the local area and contacted them. And through that, that's how they found the opportunity to work on a project. Not allowed to share the company name who they worked for, because some of the employers, don't want to share that. It is part of the contract usually. But again, the experience it was really good to be in a real working environment. I think both of them have shared similar experience, and it was new for the student, but also, it was really good to be surrounded by something that the student really wanted to do and take forward. And, they had fun there. They found out what the job is really like. And also, I think it gives you that exposure that, especially even the degree I did, BIS, Business Information Systems, we see all these very fancy roles and job names like, software developer, software engineering, data analyst, business development manager, project manager. But is that, rather than just sounding it really fancy, is that something really you want to do? Because, don't be afraid of doing something that you like doing and taking forward. For that, you might need to take different approaches, but don't be afraid to put that forward, because, if it's just, for example, I met a student today, without sharing too much detail, but the student, is actually a very high achieving student, done a mathematics degree, doesn't want to go into, very corporate based firms. And you would think from mathematics, finance sector, you really want to go and work for those, accounting firm, finance sector. But the student really doesn't want to do that. And that's absolutely fine. If that is not something for you, please do explore options that you really want to go into, because it's your career, and it's, your journey is about what you make it out to be. So how to get started? If before you actually get started with your search, I will recommend that you do get in touch with myself and your module leader, program leader, just to make them aware that you are looking to go into placement, so that even they can guide you, I can guide you, but also to make sure that you don't waste your time securing something which is not actually relevant to your area. So we need to make sure it is. There is a guide document on our website which contains relevant search engines. There's one for there's job search on our main website too, so you can search for roles that we frequently advertise for. Proactive approach mentioned before, contacting organizations directly, whether it's through any events, careers fair. LinkedIn is a great way to also connect with employers and search for those roles. So that's just a screenshot of how that guide looks, which contains all the relevant search engines. The jobs board, GradCracker is always the top one because it is actually the most used search jobs board for STEM related careers, so science and technology. So that's the main one for you guys, but there are many other ones to go through in your own time. These are also some very useful careers websites for STEM students, and I've collated that together. So it's quite a long list for you to go through in your own time. Gives you exposure to different roles that are out there for your degree, some tips, some of the kind of careers websites as well. So these are more relevant rather than just generic ones. So if you are interested in doing a placement, the first thing to do is fill out an expression interest form, which is available on our website under the resources page. If you go into the placement internships, you will see one of the option is to complete this expression interest form. Once you've done that, you'll receive one first email with relevant details about myself and a guide to help you, what to do next. But also, make sure you are looking proactively and get your CVs, cover letters drafted. Come to myself, more than happy to help and give feedback. Quickly going over deadlines. I know you don't have that much time because I do want to give you some time at the end for Q&A. Most of the applications are now open, so they do open. Students don't believe this, but they actually open around October, September time. And some think, oh, I thought it would be towards the end of the year, but that's not the case. Now is when the large firms have opened up the applications because they do, like I said, have longer procedures. So they actually close it quite early in the year by December, January. Some are open all year round. So I'm not saying everything will close, but please try not to leave it like till April or May. You'll have your, whether it's final year exams or projects, assignments to work on. So please do try to do this now. For second year students, placements are open now. For final year students, graduate schemes are open right now too. The only thing is for second year students, if you go for the placements, the last final call to cut off registration for the placements is week 5. So that's actually quite a lot of time. By next year, 2022, even if you happen to start your final year, you can still fill out paperwork. Once it's approved by MDXworks, only then you'll be able to commence your your placement. So this is where the paperwork process comes into place. So once you have secured a placement, apology, on the screen it says computer science pre-placement module. Is actually for yourself pre-placement design engineering mathematics module. So I'll make sure I change this around before circulating this to you so you're not confused. You will need to upload 3 to 4 documents. So one is completing a Google form. It's very straightforward. That G form is very, very straightforward. Just fill in your details. It'll probably ask you to put in your student number, email, contact number, the organization name, brief duties, responsibilities there. And you will have to upload a signed contract and job description, also a copy of employee liability and public liability certificates. So once all of this has been uploaded, then we'll get in touch with you and say, whether it's been approved or not approved, or we need further information. And once it is approved, we'll let the student records know to get you registered for the placement year module. And then, that year your fee is waived, so you don't need to pay for your fee, and you'll be on the 4-year sandwich program. If you are doing summer internship, and let's say you do secure that, you don't need to do the paperwork because we don't need to inform the student records to register you for this module. So now the very, very important thing is, if you are international student in this class today and you happen to secure placement or you're planning to do that, please let us know 2 weeks in advance and complete the paperwork so we can inform the student visa compliance team. It's a legal responsibility that the student university needs to make sure we complete and compliance too. So we can inform them, they can let the Home Office know that during that time you are eligible to work full-time, because you're normally limited to 20 hours, but because it forms as an integral part of your studies, you can do full-time, but we need to make sure that we inform the visa compliance team and they let the Home Office know, and only then you should commence your placement. So please don't commence your placement. For those that are home students, UK nationals, if you do happen to go and do it in your own time, Obviously, there's no such kind of legal boundaries for you. However, when you go and do that placement, it becomes an issue in your own time, because if you haven't done the paperwork, we can't say that we can get you registered for that placement module because we were not aware of this. And if you let us know very late and you've, it's like end of your placement year, that is way too late. And, the university wouldn't know where you are. So it's our responsibility to make sure, that you are registered for that sandwich program. So quickly going over a graduate study. So, if you are, again, it's exactly same tips from placements to graduate schemes or jobs as well. If you're a final year student, keywords are really important, and also very important to know what role you want to go into. So on the screen, you can see there's some useful links shared with you to see some job profiles, but keywords are very important when doing any job search. So, when you are looking online, just a simple search or through LinkedIn, any jobs boards as well, make sure you are searching for graduate schemes, graduate jobs, entry-level positions or junior positions. If you just type in a product designer, it will be a very high level role, which will ask you to have 2 to 5 years of previous experience. So, to avoid that, keywords are very important, that you are looking at the kind of the graduate entry level positions. Before you go and go into any role, one thing I tell my students and share with them as a tip is look at labor market information, just to kind of understand the dynamics of how things are currently working, which job is really popular, what are the kind of the skills required for it, and breaking down by the sector, even your local kind of region, to see the kind of rate of the employment and unemployment in that specific area. So that is an activity to do in your own time, because students sometimes, again, just like the fancy words but don't really understand what might happen in the next kind of that kind of career world for them. Some of you may want to go into a master's. Only thing I would say here is that yes, it's quite highly valuable once you have done your master's by the employers and also your education profile. But do understand your reason for doing that master's. Don't just do it for the sake of it, that I'm going to go into continuous education, and by the end of it, when I do my once I've done my master's, it will become a thing where I'm definitely guaranteed a better job. That is not really the case. I just want to get rid of that myth for you guys. If you happen to do undergraduate and go into masters, yes, you do specialize in a certain area, and very good. If you want to go into further research, PhD, that kind of route, that's absolutely fine. Go for that further education. But if you think the reason is to get a better job, or I'll get a better salary than someone who's done an undergraduate degree, what happens is when you do full-time masters, after 4 years of your degree, you're still in the same position where you don't have relevant work experience. You've just done education and you're still making applications for graduate roles and entry-level positions. So that's something, for you to think of in your own time, that if you were thinking to go into masters, is that something you really want to do? Or are you just doing it because, you haven't found a job, so you just want to go straight into something? So, or you think it's going to offer you a better job? I've just made a list of some of the placements and graduate schemes there too, that are currently online running, and some of them are really good. For example, the design student placement for Red Bull Racing, I think they actually have very high numbers of placements, so they've got multiple positions, not just one. So some of those that you might want to look into in your own time. So for the job applications, I don't want to go into too much detail, and I didn't actually put in the slides, but these are just for you, so you have information. A CV is always, highly regarded job application document. It's always the most popular one. Every time an employer asks you to fill out an application form, majority of the time it's upload a CV and or a cover letter. Cover letters are normally optional, but CVs are always mandatory. So this is a CV template I have created for my students, especially for you guys. There is one on our website from the MDXworks, my service, but I think that is quite text heavy, and sometimes students think that's a lot to take in. And this is kind of breaking down that information, and it includes key projects, whereas that is not available on that template. I believe that many of you do loads of great projects throughout your degree journey, so that should be included, and we should inform the employer that you have done a lot of great work. Cover letter is normally said optional, but what they are really doing is testing you. Are you being a lazy candidate, or are you actually going to upload a cover letter? So that's an addition to your CV, which is a more detailed and is more specific to each role that you make application for. CVs are tailored to an industry or sector. Cover letters change each time you make applications. So it's actually answering questions that for this specific job application, how you meet the requirements. And in that, you provide examples, you give case studies. I've again made my own cover letter template. This one is separate from the one on our website. So, again, you might want to look into that. And this is actually new. I don't think I've shared this previously with any other students before. So I think portfolios is also one really, popular one. And I'm pretty sure that the academics do help you while you are studying. But if you are planning to do like an e-portfolio, especially in the current climate, so you can share it on your applications, most likely you have breaking down into like a homepage about yourself with contact details and a list of the projects that you have worked on. So again, this is something you might want to go through in your own time, how to structure those those projects. So giving brief introduction, the problem statement, the challenge that you were working on, what kind of research that you did for that, the solution you came up for that, the final design, so sharing any kind of sketches, your designing steps and procedure, and about your findings or evaluating that product, and the summary of what you learned from that, whether it went as expected, and some of the resources or the learning that you had from that too. So this is a LinkedIn profile, coming just to that too, because I know Ahmed requested just to quickly go over this as part of this lecture today. So LinkedIn is actually an online professional network which allows individuals to create their own profiles. So many of you probably have that, but if you don't, there will be a detailed session for this for you guys in the coming weeks. So don't worry too much. And again, I'll be able to give you feedback on that. So it's an online professional network, free to join, unless you go for one of those, upgraded version where you can have subscription and it gives you a little bit more features. But you can, it's literally similar to your CVs. You can put up your skills, your personal profile, your job experiences, what you learned from there, education, qualifications, certifications. And also the great thing about LinkedIn is you can get recommendations, and so for your skills can also be kind of, they can give kind of like a witness statement that you have completed that skill. Any professionals that are there, for example, your academics, companies that you may be working with as part-time, and if you've done really great work for them, they can actually give recommendation that the other employers or professionals can see. The more engaged your your profiles are, the better, and with the more information, and make sure it is up to date. This is just to quickly show you that you can actually search for jobs through there too. So just quick screenshots to show. If you go on to at the top, so you have your profile, then you have the job search right at the top, and you can actually search for the roles itself, the companies, and by location you can filter it down as well. So when you can also use top filters such as most relevant, date when it was posted, LinkedIn features like in your networks it's under 10 applicants, also by the company and experience levels. There is 2 job postings on LinkedIn. So one is easy apply, so it allows you to apply quickly on LinkedIn, and sometimes there's even one-click application available as well, where you've got your CVs attached to your profiles and you can just do one click and make applications. And one is where employers are actually using this as a jobs board platform, because they don't want to waste money using other jobs search platforms and post their vacancies through that. They want to keep it inclusive to their own profiles, so they'll be posting job vacancies through this, and ask you to, there might be a link that they'll share and say please go on to this to complete your application. But you will realize that once your profile is looking very good, employers can actually come and contact you, send you an direct message to say your profile is very impressive. I would like to know more about you. Could you please send me your CV? And can we get this kind of conversation rolling? So I've just put this down for you to take in your own time, what is applicable for second years and final years, and how we can support you for all those areas. And there's also next steps. I'm going to come back to the questions, but the next steps would be to visit our website. Number 1, register yourself, do your registration of interest form, placement form, if you are planning to do a placement or even some internships. So I know that's my caseload, and I'll be sending you opportunities on regular basis. Get your CV ready, because that is always the first one. Book one-to-one appointment with myself. There's a link in there that I've shared. For second years, use the placement guide. For final years, use the graduate guide, and use the tips provided and the slides and the links to make sure you find something. So normally I would go through all this information in my first appointment, but now that you've had this lecture, in the next appointment that you make with me, I would expect you to have your CV ready at least, using the templates that I've shared with you and all the resources on our website, and also using the search techniques. Come with, let's say at least 4 to 5 opportunities that you are really interested in applying for, so we can actually have 1 hour or half an hour session making those applications, rather than just me saying you going away in your own time and not having time to work on this. I really don't want that to be the case for you. So that support is available, where we can go through that support together. So sorry about that. That was quite long and lengthy, but there was a lot to cover. But thank you for listening. At this point, I think there's a lot going on in the chat. Are there any questions that I can quickly go over now?
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Rabia. That was superb and a great coverage in terms of what MDXworks offers, alongside obviously touching on CVs, cover letters, portfolios, and some of the services that you guys can facilitate as well. I've kind of gathered a lot of the questions from the chat. So Carlos was asking, what's the difference between work placements and internship?
Okay, so workplace internship, sometimes companies use different words as well to describe this. But for example, if you're a year 1 student, or when it's more like, college-based, school-based, they normally use work experience or work-based placement as a work-based experience as a terminology to advertise for roles. So it's more volunteering, shadowing, kind of not paid opportunities, whereas summer internship is obviously a shorter period. Year-long placement is an industrial year-long placement. So these are the kind of differences. Some companies may be using work placement even for the summer internship period as well, or for the year-long placement, but majority of the ones around technical sector and the companies that I've worked, majority of them with, just mainly use summer internship or year-long placement as the 2 terminologies to advertise.
Amazing. And another question is, does MDXworks have a service which can help the students with their CV and cover letters?
So we tried doing something like an online tool where you upload a CV and it gets checked with the screening. But in terms of the service that we offer is myself. So I think I've mentioned this many times, that you can book one-to-one appointment with me using the link that's in the guide. So I can obviously send you email with all the links as well, Ahmed, and you can share it with the students. You can go onto mdxworks.com. You don't even need to wait for this link. If you go onto mdxworks.com, register yourself under the appointments tab, you can book one-to-one appointment. Using the CV templates that are provided, I will help you, give you feedback on your CV, the current CV that you have, how to improve further, how to tailor to the sector or the industry that you are interested in, because that is my main job, to help you, with your applications.
That's amazing. And yeah, no, definitely I'll share that with you guys via the Notion platform. I'll share the links alongside the slides and any other resources Rabia shares as well. Another question coming through is, in terms of the LinkedIn job search, I know you showed a few screenshots. Would it be possible, is there a video online in terms of, what MDXworks can perhaps provide a resource to demonstrate and show how to, perform a job search for an internship or for, graduate employment?
Yeah, so normally we run these things in the workshops when I do one-to-ones. I do with Kate normally for your program, and it's very one-to-one kind of base, and I show students literally next to me while we were on campus, and even through Zoom. I've done it last year, giving feedback on the profiles, but also showing how to search and the keywords using and looking for companies on there. We currently, I'll speak to the colleague who looks after the social media side of things, if there is actually a short clip, because she normally has all the library of those short clips, whether it's to sign up to our website, whether it's signing up to events, or for example the lectures we run, etc., all these recordings. If something is available, again, I can share it with you, but as far as I know, we haven't created a clip to show step by step how to do it, but these slides can show you, and it does have writing in there as well, with description on how to search. But if you want obviously more tailored kind of session around how can I search using LinkedIn, again, in that one-to-one appointment, it's not limited to CVs and cover letters. That is something I cater for as well, so I can go through that with the students in that Zoom session.
Amazing. So something to look forward to, guys. And
Yeah.
a question coming through from Kai Stopford, but also Yusuf as well, is how is student finance affected in the placement year? And Yusuf was mentioning that one of the lecturers mentioned or said that they might need to pay some money towards university whilst they're in the placement. So what's the reality behind this?
No. So when you go for the year-long placement, number one, because it's a year long, you shouldn't be working voluntarily. We wouldn't really recommend that for the external organizations, and especially, if it's a good name, if that is something you have found a company and it's a very small startup, and you don't mind doing work for them on a volunteering basis, even for a year, and you're okay with the finance side of things, then I wouldn't stop you from doing this, because you do obviously gain very good experience. But for big names or companies that have quite they're quite big on the social media side of things, and they're recruiting on yearly basis, majority of them are offering a salary. That might change, obviously, depending on the companies. If it's a small, medium size or startup, they might be offering a bit less, like 15 to 18,000 or under 20,000. Whereas if it's a very established company, very big name, it might be over 25,000 to even 30,000. So it all depends, but you don't pay fee in that year of placement. That's why paperwork is really important. If you secure year-long placement, once it's been approved by MDXworks, myself and my colleague Marcel, who's the administrator for paperwork, we will inform the student records to get you registered for the sandwich year program, which is 4 years of degree. And you go for that year, you don't pay student loan, you don't pay student fee, you actually in return earn with the company, and then you come back and complete your final year, which again you pay the student fee for. So in reality, you only pay for the 3 years, even if you did the placement year. I think there was another question around, I mentioned about week 5 of the deadline, so I'll quickly cover that. What I meant was that you have this whole year until next academic year for the deadline, in terms of securing an opportunity. I think, Ahmed, your connection is losing a bit. It's coming back now.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
The connection's a little unstable, but yeah.
That's okay, no worries.
Yeah, no, what's it called? There was a question around, do the second year students have until the end of week 5 to find a placement for next year, or can they go beyond that?
Yeah, so I think when they probably heard week 5, they thought it was this year. No, it's next academic year. So that means if let's say you've been looking all year round and it's been very difficult to find an opportunity, but by August you end up securing something, or September, and you're starting to come back into induction week 1. By week 5 of your final year, if you're a second year student right now, you have until that time limit to put in paperwork and get it approved by MDXworks. And that is actually a lot of time, because majority of the universities, they cut off the period before you start your next academic year, which is the final year. But we allow that because we understand how difficult it is sometimes to secure an opportunity. But also, one thing I probably didn't mention is you can only commence a year-long placement, which forms as part of your course or program, 4-year program, is if you have successfully passed all your modules. So by next year's summer, you find out your results, and employers are aware of this. They also want you to have passed all your modules. So that's why most of the companies start their year-long placements from August, end of August or September. But whereas some internships are slightly different, that's why we don't do that as part of the program. But if you, let's say, have only one resit and there's actually a legitimate reason, you've been a very good outstanding student, there was actually a real reason for that, something happened, you had to defer one component of your module, everything else has been absolutely fine. Case by case, we can have a look, speak to the academics and see, once they've, while they've been working as a student, what's the history of the student, how they've been working. And then it depends case by case to see if we can allow like a week, or we can speak to the employer to say, can you let the student do part-time until they find out the results? Or, the prediction is that they will be passing this module of a deferral. So, we're fine for them to start the placement.
Amazing, guys. So yeah, lucky you guys have technically a full year from now, all right? Because we're in week 4 at the moment. So all of you guys in the second year, if you're thinking about getting a placement, securing a placement, or, like looking for placements, you pretty much have a full year to hopefully secure one. Manuel is asking a question regarding the credits. So he mentions that you said something about a 9-month placement being worth 120 credits. So how does this influence the course, and does it simply add to the credits, and does it work in place of the subject or a module?
Yeah, so it doesn't replace any kind of module, because you do 4-year sandwich program, it will be written on your degrees as well. So it's like an added credit, because that is a course we offer. Before, it used to be we used to let students enroll on 4-year program or 3-year, and then those that didn't secure placement, we used to have to get them taken off that 4-year program. So that's why what we do now is that once you secure, only then you're eligible to be enrolled onto that year-long placement module. So yes, those will be added credits to your degree. It will be written on your degree industrial placement that you have taken as a module, because at the end of your degrees, there's one big certificate that has your degree name on there, but there's also a breakdown of the components of the modules that you have covered. But also when you put it onto your job application and CV, instantly from your personal profile, which is the right at the beginning of the CV section, when you put an experienced intern or an experienced, product design, etc., that, itself is a very good thing to highlight to the employers.
Amazing. Yeah, and just to reiterate what Rabia was mentioning there, one of the key things to bear in mind is it's a full year fixed sandwich placement. So between the second year and your final year, it's a full year. Once you're enrolled into the placement year, you do one module. That one module has assessments as well. 2 core assessments that will give you an additional diploma, so diploma in industrial studies. So yeah, it was called you'll get an additional diploma alongside your final degree, be a BEng, MEng, or BA degree. Another question coming from Tony Smith. Tony's asking, is it hard or rare for someone to secure a placement or an internship with a large company?
With a large company, it's not that difficult. We've actually got quite profiles of students who have secured with good companies too. That's why when I say to students, I don't want them to take this as a kind of confusing point that only apply to small to medium size. Big companies good to apply for, and we've got reputation of some students who have actually worked for different companies. Some actually go on to do some internship, so we can't keep a record of that because we don't ask them to do paperwork, so they do it in their own time, and that's happened a lot. Even in computing science, students that work for companies like Samsung, Siemens, etc. I think one of our students actually around computing or IT work for Morgan Stanley company as well. So there's actually quite a good reputation there as well. It's not as difficult as it seems, but just be ready for the setbacks. I don't want you to feel disappointed where you've made 6 applications and you think, that's it, I give up now. So I just don't want any students to feel that way, because when it comes to even after graduation, when you're making applications for graduate schemes, entry-level positions, there will be times where you've made large number of job applications, and not always it's been your luck to get through, or there might be stages where you couldn't pass the interview or the video interview, so we need to help you to brush up those skills. So just be ready for those kind of setbacks, and they're learning points. So even myself, and I'm pretty sure with Ahmed, not every time we've made application we've been successful. So what how you see us in different roles now, but there's been times where we were rejected too. Well, I was. I wouldn't say on behalf of Ahmed.
No, that's cool. It's correct as well. You are correct. What's cool? And Kai Stopped is asking a question. Do we need to tell MDXworks when we apply for placement? So what's the process behind the pre-placement module and the paperwork and signing up and enrolling?
Yeah, so the pre-placement module is actually for the paperwork once you have secured something. In the beginning, the only reason we say is let us know is because we've had issues in the past, not with this degree specifically, but with other degrees where there was a kind of, for example, I'll give you an example, like a biomedical science student, they went on for placement, but they ended up securing for hospital, but hospital doesn't mean you're covering all the duties of that biomedical science degree. It could be as an admin, it could be something like as a nursing, so that's the only reason, whereas we haven't had this issue so far with product design in engineering students or computing as well, but just to make sure we avoid those, that issue is to let us know, let me know, let my team know that you are in the process of making application, but that will also help you with the services we offer. So not just to avoid the issues that come up, but also to be able to give you the services that you are entitled to, like the CVs, job applications, interview support, all of that, careers fair, different things that we run, sending you opportunities directly. Employers I work closely with, it goes, I'll be very honest, I send bulk emails to all the students, although we've been told not to spam inboxes, but I think they are highly valuable for every student. I don't believe why I should let our left out one student and keep the other one informed. But if you fill out the expression interest form, if we are ever asked to limit on emails or that kind of communication through emails, I will make sure that those students that fill out the expression interest form have actually given the consent, and we can send you emails. So the university cannot turn back on marketing and say shouldn't really be doing that because it's spamming your inboxes, because you have given your permission to do that to us.
Amazing. And the final question, Rabia, Humendra is asking, what does internship credits translate to in terms of employers, and what are the advantages of summer placements?
Okay, so internship credit, I don't really get that point, but you don't get credits if you're talking about in terms of how you get for year long, like the 120, because it doesn't form as a part of the like a program of your degree. We unfortunately don't have that option. We've been trying to get that through, but for some reason so far that hasn't happened. So I'm really sorry about this. But what the advantage is exactly same as the year long placement, the relevant work experience that you gain, you know, talking points like interviews, enhancing your CV applications. The way you need to think of it is some students actually for some reason, you know, this is actually the majority of reasons, not even being able to secure. It's more like I'm doing a 3-year program. I don't want to take a gap year because I won't be studying with my you know, friends in the final year, so I don't want to come back on my own. That's actually one of the main reasons why students don't go for year-long placements. But when you do summer internship, you know, if that is your option, same support is available, same exactly you know, valuable experience that you gain, because in the future you'll be able to let the employer know I've been able to put my skills gained from my degree into practice in the work field, you know, in a practical element. But also you know, when you work for those companies in summer internship, you might end up securing a position for graduate role as well. And it you know, gives you exposure to those employers and networking opportunity where you form that kind of friendship or relationship at work. And, you know, you inform them that I am capable of doing this role even after I leave from here. And, you know, for them to value you and bring you back into that kind of full kind of term contract and position.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Rabia, for your time and for answering the questions and all of the content throughout as well. And just a final point there as well, in terms of, you know, the portfolios, just to reiterate the point in the introduction, guys, definitely feel free to read and download the MDXPD 2021 magazine. There's 31 pages of advice from practitioners and professionals from industry in terms of what they look for in terms of vetting a portfolio, how to put a portfolio together in all of the different design disciplines: design, product design, industrial design, design engineering, you know, graphic design, UX, UI, architecture, interior design. So definitely feel free to use that and resource amongst you know, other resources as well. So last year there's some recordings available online as well under the channel Ahmed MP from those who spoke about, you know, putting a portfolio together. So you can look at Sam Gwilt, so Sam does design, and also Bradley Harper. So they gave fantastic talks last year as well in terms of putting a portfolio together. And then the final thing, guys, keep an eye out on the weekly emails. So each week, your module leader will share with you guys the details of the speaker, the talk, the webinar links as well. So hopefully I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Same place, same time, a new link, new speaker. And until then, guys, stay well, stay safe, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you so much. I've answered the final question that came in the chat box. But thank you for having me today, and thank you for listening. Hopefully, I'll see many of you soon.